Just say points.
I think for us, we're talking units of work here for the sake of this discussion. It does change the discussion a little bit if we're talking hours. How about this one? I can live with this one. This one looks pretty decent. Seems like a steady flow of stuff getting done every day or every other day-ish. It's not bad. I mean, we're not going to hit the ideal, and that's utopia. Utopia rarely happens in business, right? But this is pretty decent. Looks like things started to pile up. I maybe got a little bit worried, but then boom, some things got done. But ultimately, it was a pretty good trend near the end here. Some team rallied or whatever. It's a pretty healthy trend. Okay. So again, having these types of discussions, what does the data tell us? What do we do about it differently, right? And maybe on this one, what do you do differently? Well, maintain focus on the work that we committed to get that done. Let's bring that going to your example. Maybe it was a new story or something. Don't bring it in, because this is the kind of stuff that happens. Bring it in the next sprint, or make something, pop something off, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Well, ideally, we don't always have that choice. So again, it's a discussion and a negotiation on what needs to happen. So burn up. So again, the x-axis is time, y-axis is, I think in this case, is story points. The red line shows us our backlog, how much work is in our backlog to do, okay, over time. You can see this one, there was maybe some beginning of, and this happens, there's an increase because we're still working through what we need to understand about the work. So it's growing, and then perhaps there was some, maybe call it pruning, some trimming of the backlog. So we got rid of some stuff, and then we said, you know what? We've listed everything we need to listen. This is good. This is all the stuff we need to get done. So you understand the red line? The blue line is the stuff that, this is history. This is what we've gotten done over sprint. This is cumulative. Okay? And then this yellow is our cone of uncertainty. Right? It's a measure of our best case scenario versus our worst case scenario, and the blue line is that trend, if I'm somewhere in the middle. So what does this one tell us? Yeah, you can, so if I'm a product owner, I can work with my stakeholders and say, I think this number, if I drew a line straight down here, looks like 22, sprint 22. I'll have everything, best case, sprint 22 done. Worst case, 25. So I've got a fairly narrow cone of uncertainty. It means the team is fairly predictable. Right? Does that make sense? So going to a stakeholder saying, worst case, 25, best case, sprint 22. Likelihood, somewhere in the middle. But we'll do our best to deliver by 22nd, but no promises. This is the range. Okay? And so you can have that conversation. It's a tool to help have that conversation. It's, again, a forecasting tool to help with our stakeholders. How about this one? You saw some spaces. What about that? No idea, right? So my cone of uncertainty is very wide here, meaning the team isn't very predictable. With me? And if I had that same conversation with stakeholders and go, tell me your best case, worst case scenario, well, we're going to be done somewhere between sprint 25 and 48. That's a different conversation with stakeholders than 22 to 25. If I'm a stakeholder, I'm going to go, you guys have no idea what you're doing. Right? No idea. Which may be okay early on, but certainly after 10 sprints, I better have a pretty decent tool, or at least a narrower. Because why? Because we should be making refinements and adjustments on how we make decisions so that we can forecast better.
Chris, on your red line, is that predicated on having effort points on everything in your backlog to build that red line?
You know, sorry. I don't think this works well as a
product backlog metric. I think it works good as a feature backlog.
I agree.
When you look, I mean, your backlog is ever changing, and it's like, you know you're not gonna ever deliver everything in your backlog anyway. So I think keeping it focused on a smaller type of release of feature, you should know enough about your feature or your release to be able to have that kind of information.
For me, once we get to this point, like this is a good example where kind of what you're seeing, Scott. Because this just continues to grow, grow, and grow. At some point, you've got to trend it and say, this is the only stuff that matters. Maybe it's the next 3 releases. I mean, they'll go out of control. You're right.
And you're never gonna have enough information to make it worthwhile.
Right. So what body of work is absolutely required for us to be done so that I can have that conversation between sprint 22 and 25? Okay. Cumulative flow. Yes.
I have a question on that COVID predictability. What data points used to create that?
This is your average high story points, your average low is what that's using. So going back to that first exercise we did, so it still matters that we delivered 60 stories, 60 units of work, even though we committed to 50. But this is a representation of that. I'm on average 20% off, or whatever, right? Does that make sense? So cumulative flow, real quick. I'll go through this. The blue line, again, time, the amount of work per units. This is the stuff getting done. This is, say, the test. This is the green is in depth, for example. Which one's healthier? One on the right. The reason it's healthier is because there's a pretty even flow of work between QA and dev. And there's a steady increase in stuff getting done. Does that make sense? So this helps me understand the flow of work within a team. How well are we managing that flow of work? It's a great metric to see where you might have bottlenecks. Okay? You can see that in test, boy, they're getting pummeled, right? But we're not getting anything done. The red being test. We just keep adding stuff on. Velocity, which one's healthier? One on the left. This is highly unpredictable. We're bouncing back and forth. This is probably an indication of someone, you know, I committed to probably 60, 70 points, didn't get it done, and I rolled it over to the next one, right? And still brought in more stuff. Not sure what decisions are being made in planning, but my guess, just with this data point, probably not making decisions around what the data tells us, right? But this is pretty good trend. So real quick, and we'll close with a fun little exercise, good team, bad team. And I'm not calling any team out, but show thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll vote. Team A's delivered 30 units of work consistently for 10 sprints in a row, 15 bad team. I see a little bit of both. Why do I see both? Doesn't tell me anything. What if the team's done 10 sprints? Maybe it's a little more information. They've done 10 sprints. So point is, on this one, 30 units of work consistent, 10 sprints in a row. If they've only done 10 sprints, brand new team. They're awfully consistent for a brand new team. So I'm question, I'm not sure if that's helping me or not. I don't know yet. What if the team dynamics change constantly? I might argue that if the team dynamics change constantly, this is going to bounce all over the place because the team is going performing, right? But a different team, average velocity measure 75 story points, good team, bad team. Yeah, 75 doesn't tell me anything, right? As I talked about earlier, every team's velocity measurement will be different. They may deliver the same amount of work, all things being equal. It's just their scale's different. What if the trend is 150, then 150? The average is 75, or their average is 75, I think. Good team, bad team. It's probably not real good, right? They're bouncing. What if the last four, 76, 72, 78, 74? Seems like healthy. Predictability measure 50%. I don't know. Good or bad team? I see this, I see a lot of this. I might argue, they might make 2 sprints in, they did 25% first sprint, 75 in the second, I'm going, oh, their trend is going in the right direction. I'm curious to see where we go next, right? So I don't know, I don't have enough information. If they've only done 2 sprints, this is what I just articulated. But if they've been together for 10 sprints, probably something would change, right? They should have dialed it in by now.
Also depends on external factors,
Absolutely.
what happened to the team, personality changes, personnel changes.
Yeah, and all metrics, you know, it's not the one metric. If you need more information, you need to have conversations. So measure, learn, improve, measure the right stuff with the right intention. Understand what the metric's telling you. That's almost first and foremost, right? Understand it. Avoid the vanity metrics that make me feel good, but they don't tell me a whole lot. You know, we use 75 story points, that's better than Team A. So, if you don't like what you see, make decisions. Change it. Educated decisions. Questions? All right. So we've got lunch. Well, we don't have lunch. We have lunch break. We were on a break. Anyone?